Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us today for our transit update and what's going on with transit and where we've been and where we're going. I'm Chris Mackay. I am the City of Phoenix's Director of Community and Economic Development, and I'll also be your MC here today. As the Economic Development Director, I asked if I could have a few minutes to talk with you about what light rail means to economic development and the development of any community and the value that we see in light rail coming through. So we all like to think, I look around the room and we all remember the time we live in our suburbs, we drive our cars and we drive into our jobs and we work every day. That isn't the way of the future workforce that we're recruiting. That isn't the way of the companies that we're working with today. I don't know if any of you saw the news this morning. Chris Camacho with GPAC was on the news talking about the 300 prospects that GPAC is working with today, and that 18% of them are from tech companies. And those companies are interested in that young, entrepreneurial, creative, educated workforce. And that workforce can live anywhere. They want to live somewhere where they are connected, where they can live where they work. They can walk to their restaurants, they can walk home from work, they can walk home and get their dog and take them out for a run, and all connected by some type of transit system. Most of them don't even own a car. You see this happening in other major cities. You see it happening in Seattle and in San Francisco and Chicago and New York and DC and Los Angeles. But now you also see it happening here in Phoenix. So Phoenix is a much newer city than some of the cities that I've just named, so we're just a little bit slower in the follow-up as we're moving forward in attracting that type of workforce. So that workforce is here, and that workforce wants to stay here. As we're graduating those students out of ASU and University of Arizona and Grand Canyon University and Northern Arizona and all of our colleges, that workforce wants to stay here. They want to find jobs here. So our job is to attract those companies where our citizens can find those jobs. Light rail serves as an incredibly attractive tool in that manner. Those employees want to utilize light rail, but not only that, but as we look at the development where these companies will locate, they're not going to build their own buildings. They're going to go into buildings that a developer is going to build. And a developer is more likely to build on light rail. And the reason that happens is it's a fixed asset. So they can invest 20, 30, 100, $200 million in a project adjacent to light rail, and they know that light rail is never going to move. It's a fixed asset. We're locating on a bus line, we could move the bus line, the ridership could change, those bus lines could shift, demographics could change, the demand, the financial demand could be too great, and those lines move. And we see them move pretty frequently. That won't happen with light rail. So rarely when I'm attracting a company or a major development, am I asked where it is in proximity to a bus route, a bus stop. What I am asked is, how many stops is it from light rail? And in fact, as we're looking at bringing new companies in, particularly along Van Buren, Maria will attest to the fact that they are now using a light rail stop as an incentive tool. If they're going to build, they want us to ensure that we're going to put a light rail stop closer to their building. So that is a new kind of an incentive that we're working through. Another thing that we talk about is the jobs that are created along light rail. So we've heard the advertisements, we've seen the information about 35,000 jobs created along light rail since 2005 as this project started forward. Where that information comes from is through national models. So there are two national models that we particularly follow with office and industrial professionals and global organizations that tell us how many jobs we can expect per thousand based on a discipline. So office is one set, industrial is one set, retail is another set, restaurants another, educational, government, they each have their jobs per thousand. So as we build along light rail, we know the permits that we issue. So we know the square footage in each discipline that we are able to permit and start construction. We can then apply that methodology that's recognized nationally and apply how many jobs will be created. But we actually go one step further. Just to be extra conservative, we reduce the number of jobs per thousand by about 25% to account for open space, to account for conference rooms and restrooms and common areas, and especially in collaborative space today, like you see here at this beautiful DeSoto market, where it's open, so you have multiple people in multiple space. So we tried to be extremely conservative, and then we cross-checked that with our city code so that we knew that we were providing very conservative factual information. Light rail is of regional significance, so something that happens in downtown Phoenix affects downtown Tempe. Something that happens in downtown Tempe affects downtown Mesa, affects Chandler, affects Scottsdale, and the West Valley. So we see that connectivity, and part of that is because it connects those jobs. As those companies locate on light rail, they pull from a workforce that could be in Goodyear, it could be in Glendale, could be in Scottsdale, in Tempe, but it makes that ridership very easy for people to come and go throughout the valley. So really looking forward to hearing from our speakers today, to talk with you, of course, about the importance of light rail and what light rail means. So with that, I won't stand in the way of you and our own Mayor Greg Stanton.
All right, good morning, everyone. This is an exciting day, an exciting announcement about the success of our light rail system. But first, let me say something about our previous speaker, Chris Mackay. She's the Michael Jordan of economic development, the best of all time, the best in the business. I just want to say thank you, Chris Mackay, for what you're doing to create jobs here in the city of Phoenix and our entire region. Let's give her a big round of applause, a superstar in economic development. And he's going to say a few words in just a moment to speak for himself. But let me tell you, as mayor of this city, I love DeSoto Central Market. I mean, what a great community gathering space in a legendary classic building in the city of Phoenix that for a decade sat here unused. This young man, this entrepreneur, this visionary decided to put his time, energy, and resources into adaptive reuse of this building. And now we have a spectacular community gathering spot that wouldn't be here, that would not be here, but for his belief in the future of light rail and what it's going to do for Central Phoenix. So Sean Conley, we owe you a huge debt of gratitude. Let's give a big round of applause. And Chris said it well. The success of our region is what's important. Phoenix is obviously the largest city in the region, but I'm a huge cheerleader for what's going on in the city of Tempe. I want to thank Mark Mitchell for being here, and he's going to talk about the success of Tempe and how it's directly related to transit investments that this community has made. My good friend Mayor John Giles of Mesa could not be here. He is traveling here today, but next month they have a massive event in downtown Mesa. And what's good for Mesa is good for Phoenix. So Mayor Giles, safe travels, and I know your staff is here and you are here in spirit, and I can't wait to join you next month for the opening of light rail right to downtown Mesa. Light rail has been transformative for our downtown, for our region, and as we're going to learn even more about today, for our economy. Light rail links jobs, education, both K-12 and higher education, the arts, our cultural institutions, in a way that simply could not have been possible without it. Light rail has been a $1.4 billion investment by the people of Phoenix and the people of this region. But the return to our economy has been significant. More significant than I ever thought, more significant than we thought. I was a believer in light rail from day one. I knew what it could do for this community and has been even more successful for our city and region than any of us thought. So Valley Metro has recently updated the economic development, the economic impact figures, and it turns out the estimates that we've been using up to this point have understated the value of light rail, have understated the incredible economic impact, positive economic impact to our city and region from light rail. So, Mayor Mitchell, can I get a drum roll, please? Because I'm going to unveil the new number right now. Let's get a drum roll. $8.2 billion built and in construction. Almost $350 million planned right now, but the number of built and in construction, $8.2 billion, significantly higher than the previous estimates that we are using. The positive economic impact of light rail and the investment that the people of this community have made in light rail is paying massive dividends now and for decades to come. $8.2 billion built or under construction along the current 20-mile line. These are developments that are close in to the current light rail line that have been built since 2005 or under construction now. We're talking about 204 total projects, mostly private capital investments. And when we factor in projects that have been planned, the impact is even higher. That's an additional $346 million investment in the planning stages. And as Chris Mackay indicated, that is a pretty conservative estimate. Light rail benefits the city of Phoenix. It benefits our entire valley, and that investment adds real value. Light rail increases the value of land, home values in the corridor perform 24% better because of their location near the light rail line. We are in a incredibly competitive, highly competitive economic environment, and a modern progressive transit system anchored by light rail is critically important for our future. Nearly a third of all riders are students. We know that increasing the college attainment of this region is critically important for us to be economically competitive. Don't ever underestimate how important it is to have a great public transportation system, including light rail, in increasing the educational attainment of your populace. And light rail is bringing people to storefronts, restaurants, office space, entertainment, creating a new energy for the region that we can all feel right around us. You can feel it inside this incredibly restored building that is a perfect example of what transit-oriented development is all about. And so you can see, I'm excited. I'm excited about how far this community has come. I'm so proud of the city for overwhelmingly, when they've had the opportunity on the ballot to support public transportation, including light rail, the people of Phoenix have overwhelmingly been supportive. And that belief in our future has paid incredible dividends. As I mentioned, this is very important, not just to the city of Phoenix. This investment is incredibly important to our entire region. So next to the podium, I'd like to invite my friend, my partner in economic development, Mayor Mark Mitchell of Tempe.
Thank you very much, Greg, and it truly is an honor to be with all of you here today. And I want to thank Sean from DeSoto Central Market and for having us here today. And I got to tell you, this is quite an amazing building. I love the historic aspect of it. And if it's okay with Mayor Stanton, I've already been talking to Sean to figure out how we can get one of these in Tempe, if that's okay, because it really, truly does fit some of the themes and activities that we have in our community. And I want to thank not only Greg Stanton, but Councilmember Valenzuela, Councilmember Gallego, and Councilmember Sherwood for their leadership in Valley Metro and transit in general, because as we all know, smart investments in transportation don't just improve neighborhoods, they improve lives. And we're seeing that truly as we speak. And today, just on light rail, when I rode here, I saw a lot of young professionals coming to work. I saw maybe a little bit of tourists, maybe not so much now because it's 110 outside, but when the season kicks in, as Greg mentioned, you're going to see a lot of ASU students and university students and professionals taking light rail to work. And you know what's great about taking light, I did take it here today from Tempe, downtown Tempe, and I was able to come by and pick up Mayor Stanton along the way as we came here. But I got to tell you, it truly is an amazing project and what it has transformed, not only in Phoenix and Tempe and Mesa, but what it's going to do for our region. I would just like to give a few examples of how things have changed in our community in Tempe, in large part due to the investment in light rail. You know, State Farm, as you may know, decided to put one of the largest regional headquarter hubs right in Tempe. While there's a lot of number of reasons why they chose Tempe, but one of the executives really pointed out to me that State Farm really came here because of the proximity to transit-related projects in our community. And that's something that's very, very exciting for us because as Sun Devil Stadium is getting renovated, we have our main transit center, and they're having a walkway straight to State Farm. So that's one of the main reasons why State Farm chose here, because they wanted excellent commuting opportunities for their employees that's related to public transportation. You know, as you know, this is no small project. It's a $600 million development project. State Farm will be currently hiring 900 new employees to join an existing 2,000 existing employees, but eventually it's going to be over 9,000 employees right at that center on Tempe Town Lake. And a big reason why State Farm is here is because it has access to light rail. Another example I wanted to point out in terms of economic development is what's happening along Apache Boulevard. For those of you that grew up here like I did, when I was a kid, and frankly, when I first got on council, the area along Apache Boulevard was very different than what it is today. I mean, for those that remember, it's the old Highway 60, and it was filled with gas stations and motels all along Apache Boulevard. And as light rail has transformed this area, it's turned into, as construction began, it's turned into many new buildings, many live-work opportunities. It's become anything We've taken old vacant gas stations and turned them into restaurants and living uses and mixed-use housing opportunities. Then we're getting good quality development projects that really work for our communities in our city, where people can live, work, and have a job in this particular area. You know, this area has a vibrant community feel to it. It's where innovative people are starting to locate. We're investing in creative classes with individuals becoming live, work, creative art space and art galleries. And this is something that's really transforming Apache Boulevard. You know, the economic development that we're seeing did not happen by accident. It took a vision. And I want to thank our staff, from Eric Iverson, Amanda Nelson, and Tony Connie, and the rest of the Tempe Transit staff. It took a lot of hard work to envision where we're coming today. These are just some of the few examples that we have in our community with the investment of transportation and with light rail. To date, there's been more than $3.4 billion that has been invested in Tempe along the light rail corridor. I mean, that's just a fraction of what Phoenix has done in terms of their $8.2 billion, but I'm going to tell you something. We're a small community, we're only 42 square miles, and having that type of investment infused in our community really is truly changing the dynamics and the quality of life in our community. You know, investment is going strong today, as Mayor Stanton mentioned. In the past year alone, Tempe has benefited from unprecedented amount of development along the light rail, with nearly 5.4 million square feet of new projects, including residential, office, restaurant, as well as hotel uses. And there's other projects that are coming in the works. The successes that we have made it clear to us that how important bold investments are in public transit and transportation, and it's the continued success story that we have in our community. It's very exciting, and another important component of our transportation network that's going to be coming in the future is our streetcar, which will provide an enhanced mobility for the region in and around our downtown area and our urban core. This project is in partnership with Valley Metro and with the City of Tempe, from planning, design, construction, as well as managing, as well as even capital financing for this project. The Tempe Streetcar Project, similar to the Tempe Town Lake and Valley Metro Rail Project, has the potential for long-term impact in our community, and it's going to completely transform Tempe into the future. And I want to thank Mayor Stanton for inviting us here today, along with Valley Metro, to talk about the great aspects that public transportation has for our community. And as I mentioned earlier, the investment in transportation does change lives. Thank you very much.
It's great listening to two Valley mayors, our very own Greg Stanton, and of course, our good friend Mark Mitchell, talk about the impact that light rail has had in our respective communities. We're talking about return on investment. We're talking about what I believe, and what clearly we all believe, is the greatest catalyst for economic development that we have. In fact, I believe it's our support of light rail and transportation is just as important as our support of our entrepreneurs. So to be here in this particular location to talk about this topic, it's pretty special. Now, I'm a Phoenix native, and I remember when I would come to downtown Phoenix. I'm a West Phoenix kid. It was for a Suns game and not much else, frankly. And now I remind people that if you haven't been to downtown Phoenix in the last 3.5 years, you haven't seen downtown Phoenix. It's vibrant. It's growing. Chris Mackay, who is the Michael Jordan, I would say the LeBron James, modern, without the attitude. The mayor's dating himself. But she reminds us also how important these particular projects are. I think of what has come with light rail, the ASU downtown campus, and the critical infrastructure that has come around it, like the convention center and cityscape, and on and on. But now, I represent District 5, which is Central and West Phoenix, home of the Northwest Light Rail Extension. It's on 19th Avenue between Bethany Home Road and Dunlap, 3.2-mile stretch. And let me tell you what it means for a neighborhood, an aging neighborhood that, frankly, was in need of this type of a project. This particular project brought 1,500 jobs. It'll connect 20,000 people when it's finished. Already, we have permits that have been pulled because of the potential around and the track record, frankly, that light rail has in our community. But to this aging community, not only does it bring transportation, it brings new streets and sidewalks. It's revitalizing an entire community. It connects 7 schools in this 3.2-mile stretch. It connects a couple of these neighborhoods are popular neighborhoods for our senior population. So giving people an opportunity to take part in light rail, not only because they rely on it, and I support light rail for those who rely on public transportation, but also for those of us who wish to one day rely on public transportation. We want to be Phoenix, but there are some cities out there that are doing it. Portland and Salt Lake and several others. You don't have to own a car in New York City. We have to get there. We want to create this multimodal city, and this is how we do it. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for including me in this presentation, and God bless you. Would you like to? And I want to take the honor of introducing my colleague on the Phoenix City Council, District 8 council member, who's been I'll tell you, she's been an advocate, to say the least, to bring public transportation and light rail to South Phoenix, but throughout the valley. I want to welcome Kate Gallego to the podium.
Thank you so much for joining us to celebrate this great milestone and more to come. It is my pleasure to be the part of the program where we say thank you to the citizens of Maricopa County, Phoenix, Tempe, and Mesa for investing in this economic development tool. It is so fun to be a council member who represents the light rail area. I represent the area just to the east of here and come from the economic development world, so I love following LeBron James, Michael Jordan. As we go around the light rail and we get that first question, what sites do you have available on the light rail? It is a very fun area to represent, but our entire city has been asking us to have that conversation in their neighborhoods. We just finished the process for developing our general plan, which will be on the ballot in August. The number one thing we heard throughout the city is that we want a more connected city. Throughout Phoenix, people said, please bring light rail to my community. We got to keep up with the great momentum in Tempe. As someone who represents the East area, I regularly meet constituents who say, I'm going to work at State Farm, or I'm going to work on the rail in Tempe, and it is very exciting to have that partnership and have those great jobs in Tempe. So thank you to Mayor Mitchell and all of our neighboring elected officials for being great partners in this. Through wherever we go, we hear more about where people wanted to go. Glendale is at the top of our list, and we are very lucky to have Councilmember Sherwood here in support of this as well, that it really is a great regional partnership, and Phoenix, I hope, will continue to make these key investments. We could not have done this without Transit 2000, which was overwhelmingly approved by the voters of the city of Phoenix, a sales tax that allowed us to make these investments and generate this $8 billion of investment. And we'll be giving the voters an opportunity to continue that momentum in August. A very exciting partnership so we can have more great spaces like this one. Tempe has some great adaptive reuse already happening, so I think we can keep DeSoto here. And with that, I will turn it over to Chris Mackey to introduce the man behind DeSoto.
Last but not least, I'd like to introduce you to the gentleman who's the visionary behind this gorgeous facility, the reuse of an old manufacturing facility here in downtown Phoenix, Sean Conley.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to personally welcome you all to DeSoto Central Market. My name is Sean Conley, and I'm the managing partner of DeSoto Central Market. Where you're at today, we're standing in a beautifully restored market that was originally built in 1928, originally as a DeSoto car dealership. DeSoto, if you don't know, was a brand of Chrysler. It went defunct in the 1960s. And this building itself, after its use as a car dealership, gradually fell in disrepair through various owners. And fast forward to 2012, my partner, Ken Cook, bought it out of foreclosure and began adaptive reuse on the shell of the building. So if you can imagine, the trusses, the walls were bowed out, the trusses were down to the ground. It was quite a feat to bring it to where we are today. it took about a year and a half just to get to the shell, restoration of the shell. But in 2013, I happened to be looking up and down Central along the light rail corridor, looking for a space to fit this concept that you see here today. I came across the DeSoto building in my search and instantly knew this would be the space I'd like to see the market. Not only because of its historic beauty, but its proximity to every surface mode of transportation. We, of course, have room for cars in the back here, but in a 100-foot radius, right outside the front door, we have a bus stop. We have bike lanes on Central and Roosevelt. We have a grid bike station just across Caddy Corner. And of course, we have the Roosevelt Arts District light rail stop just outside the door. Having these multiple modes of transportation means, as a business owner, I don't have to rely on only car traffic in a downtown Phoenix that is becoming denser and parking it at a premium. It allows customers who may not choose or cannot afford a car to visit the market. It also allows some of my employees to get here easier and quicker, as they now have multiple choices. Every day I have customers and employees that at least use one of these transportation options to get to DeSoto Central Market, and that's a cool thing. In closing, I just want to thank you all for coming again, and please join us afterwards for some refreshments or food, and thank you and have a great day.
You know, as an economic developer, almost my sole reason for existing is to bring jobs into a community. That's why we're here. That's what we're charged with doing. And I can tell you the number one and number two things we're asked for as we compete on a national and international scale as an educated workforce and transportation. How do the two connect to create a place where a company can grow and thrive? So we are just at the beginning. And if we want to create a region and an economy that's sustainable and not cyclical, we need to get focused on our educated workforce and on our transportation, because that is what is going to draw the jobs of the future into Phoenix and help us grow our way out of any future economy. We're only in the beginning. As we open towards the end of the year and in the coming months, we open in downtown Mesa and we open the Northwest Line. We are really excited about what this is going to mean and the new opportunities for development along those segments of line. Thank you very much for coming today.